Rock the Ripple. Rock the Ripple. The Rock the Ripple podcast with Narita McInnes.
Let's do this.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Rock the Ripple podcast. I'm your host, Narita McInnes. It is so awesome to be here with you as always. And as always, today is another very exciting day because I have another very special guest on the show. He is a singer, songwriter, producer, and mentor, an award-winning blues and soul troubadour, a beyond exceptional entertainer that has seen him play to sold-out stages all over the world, one of the best one-man bands you will ever see and experience, not to mention a brilliant, soulful, and awesome human, hailing all the way, well, not that far away, from Melbourne, Australia. He is the one and only Shaun Kirk. Shaun, welcome to the show.
Hello, my friend. It's good to be here.
Oh, it's great to be back with you, Rumi. How are you going?
Doing so good, actually. Kind of still just kind of flying high on those Living Free festival vibes. And definitely have felt a change like in my energy and just, the energy around me since that festival. There was definitely something that clicked in that time.
Yeah. It was so good. And for those who don't know, Shaun and I got to hang out quite a bit at the recent Living Free Festival at Pillar Valley in New South Wales, which was an absolute cracker of an event, wasn't it, Shaun?
Yeah.
Just amazing. The energy was just so good. The people were amazing. Dave, Aaron, Tom, bring it all to life. It was just brilliant. And we got to hang out quite a bit and get to know each other, high five each other, and just all that sort of stuff. It was good.
Yeah, I was your personal assistant whilst you were on stage.
It was great. You didn't need me, but I definitely needed you. It was awesome. It was so good. Yeah. No, so, for people who don't know much about you, maybe we'll start there. I mean, I know I've given you a bit of an intro, but I mean, really, in a nutshell, who is Shaun Kirk?
Shaun Kirk is an identity, for one.
Yeah.
That, the name was given to me at birth and all that stuff. But, since then, he has created a life in music and spirituality and travel, adventure, fun. The main thing that I do is the music. I've been kind of playing music and writing music for about 20 years now, and doing it full time for about 15 of those years. So really lucky in that sense, because it's probably one of, if not the most challenging industries to do that in. Right now anyway. It's had its moments where maybe that was probably more possible. And that comes with a lot of challenges, which has actually been a real blessing in disguise for me, because it's led me down this amazing path of self-growth and discovery and like I said, and the spiritual aspects of it. And and that's kind of where I'm at today, just in this this amazing kind of floaty, dreamy space of discovering and maybe remembering what this is all about.
Yeah. And are you having fun? I think you are.
Totally. Yeah, I hope that comes across, because it's funny you said that, actually, because I was just having, maybe a day or two ago, I was just having this this kind of message come through, I guess you'd call it, where it was just just remember to have fun, just have fun with it. If you're just having fun with it and not taking it all too seriously, what can go wrong? It's all just a game. And that's not to take away from the parts that come across as very serious and harmful and hurtful, but I think when you can, personally, for me, when I've adapted that mindset of this is literally I'm just on a game board or in a a video game, and I'm the character, and I get to choose where that adventure takes me. And when I'm in that kind of mindset, that's when things become really magical.
It's so funny you say that too, because I was interviewed on a podcast the other day and I said exactly the same thing. I mean, and it's not to take away from the shitty stuff, obviously,
Well,
but you're the main character of this game that we're all getting to play, this game of life, and how we choose to show up is really up to us. So, have the fun, like bring as much joy as you can, because that will balance out when this shitty stuff will happen. And that's just part of life as well. So, yeah, just have that fun. I love it. I love it.
and I think it can make the shitty stuff feel less shitty as well.
Yeah.
Um, but it's interesting. Like I remember when I was having that kind of that message or thought coming through. I was it was referring me to like an interview I watched with, I can't remember who it was or what their name was, but they had experienced they crossed over and come back kind of thing.
Oh, near-death experience.
Near-death experience was the word I was looking for. And they said they kind of described that, and one of the things they described was that they were no longer like a physical being, but they were aware of all the kind of the different souls around them, and they were all just like, it was like being in this big like piss take kind of fun environment, where they're all just kind of laughing at each other and just having a great time.
Yeah.
And so I guess that's kind of, what that thought was bringing up for me. It was like, well, that you can create that here if you want to.
Mm.
And it's all just about, a choice and then taking action on that choice, right?
Yeah, 100%. Couldn't agree more. Yeah. That's the way we do it, isn't it? Like everything's a choice. Everything's up to us to choose. All right, how do we want to show up today? And like just bring that joy and bring that fun, which you obviously do in your music, because I mean, I got to watch you rock it out, and someone can play the guitar, someone can play the drums, you just do all bloody everything all at once, and it's just phenomenal. Can you just we're going to go everywhere in our chat, but maybe to paint a picture of what you actually do on stage so people can really wrap their heads around it, because some people will do this, like they'll record and do those bits all themselves, but you do it in a live show.
Yeah.
Like, that's nuts. That's nuts.
Yeah. So my show, it's me playing all the instruments completely live. There's no what's called looping, which is very common these days, where an artist might grab a bass guitar and then they'll play a part on that bass guitar, and they use this little pedal to kind of like create a repeating phrase.
Yeah.
So I do none of that. It's all completely live, and I'm playing a guitar, which is actually, to get kind of like technical and nerdy, but it's an old 1957 K upbeat guitar, for any of the guitar nerds out there. And it's actually producing from that one guitar, it's producing 3 different sounds. So it's got like a bass sound that's kind of emulating that big heavy bass element of the EQ spectrum, and then it's running through an electric guitar amp, so that's creating like the real raw energy of the guitar, and then it's got an acoustic kind of element to it as well. It's got an acoustic pickup that's creating like the real kind of the clarity in the guitar, I guess you'd call it. So there's that. That's just the beginning, and then I've got like these six pedals at my feet. So I'm playing like a kick drum, a snare drum, what's called a little stomp box, a hi-hat, a crash cymbal, and a tambourine with my 2 feet.
As you do.
And coordinating them all to create different grooves. And then I'm playing the harmonica around my neck. And then I've got, of course, I'm singing as well. So I don't know what that is altogether, but it's about
a lot.
9 different things going on all at once or something like that.
Yeah, and your voice is bloody incredible as well too. Like you can just belt it out and you get the crowd going. It's so cool. I can see why you've had so many sold out shows. And I guess it makes it easier too. Like being a one man band is being able to just go, okay, I know I'm free. I can do the gig. Like I know with myself when I've been in bands, like there's lots of other people to ask and, everyone's got to be free. So I guess that's an awesome thing to be able to do as well too. Hey.
Yeah, so I mean, quickly, speaking of amazing voices, like you whipped that amazing voice out at Living Free Festival and blew it on a bass. So let's not underestimate your own abilities in that regard. But yeah, definitely, I think that's why, for the most part, why I do what I do, because it allows me not only like kind of logistically, but it allows me financially to keep on doing what I do full time and not have to go work some, ridiculous 9 to 5 job that I absolutely loathe every day.
Yeah.
And then kind of have the music as this secondary kind of element. There's been moments where I've like tried to maybe put out some feelers to do that. And every time I've created a stupid little, can I swear on this fucking resume?
Yeah.
It just feels so wrong to the core of me. And maybe we'll talk, like, I think I can kind of identify why through like human design and stuff like that. But it just feels, there's something about it that just like icks me. And it never leads anywhere. I'll put out, I'll send resumes and do applications and stuff like that, and it's just, I've never, in however many I've sent out over the years, I've probably had like 2 interviews from it. So and then whilst that's happening, I've got like people coming at me asking me if I want to come do this gig, and and offering me money that probably those jobs would pay me in a number of weeks. So it's like, at some point you've got to go, okay, and just like surrender to like, what is truth, around you. And so I guess that's, the solo thing has allowed me to do that, because there's far less kind of overheads and logistics in terms of, I've got to get, 10 people to the gig or 5 people, however many. It's usually like just 1, 2, or 3. Like sometimes I'll travel with a sound engineer and a crew member of some sort. That's kind of as far as my crew usually goes. So it really, it just makes it very possible.
Yeah. And I think you're someone who values freedom, and no doubt in your human design and your numerology and all that sort of stuff, you'd have a lot in numerology. You probably have a lot of 5 energy, because 5 represents freedom and wanting to be able to have that choice and all that sort of stuff. What are you in human design? Do you know what you are?
Generator.
Yeah.
So I think that's where the like, not just do what makes you feel good kind of comes from. The rest doesn't matter. And that's okay. That's the big thing, is like, that's okay. You are allowed to just go and do what makes you feel good, because that actually is how you have your impact on the world. And inspire other people to kind of do the same. So it's taken me a while, but I feel myself leaning more and more into that every day. And then human design is something I've got to like kind of understand a bit more, but I know that like my numbers are like a 6-2. So I can't remember exactly what that, identifies, but the generator thing is what I connect with the most when I read anything to do with like what a generator is. I go, that makes total sense to me.
Yeah, totally. I'm the same as you. Like I know little bits and I want to know more about it as well too. And I think, it all comes down to knowing yourself, and it doesn't matter if it's human design, numerology, astrology, whatever, even just conversations with people, reflecting back, parts of yourself that maybe you don't see, or that, or that is just highlighted, or all that sort of stuff. It then just helps you to realize, okay, this is what's working and what isn't. And you know, what I love about what you're doing too is you're trusting the signs that you're getting. Like, you know, you've tried to go and fill out a fucking resume and it's just it hasn't worked, you know, like, and it's not supposed to, because you're supposed to be going this way. So then you trust and lean more into that. You're like, more doors will open. And if they don't, then you know that there's somewhere different to go, but you keep following that. And I think that's such a powerful thing for all of us to be able to sit with, because the more that we trust ourselves, the more that we can really just hone into what we're here to do and just allow and play with that. Do you feel that?
Oh, 1,000%. And the more that we do that, the more that kind of, you know, the universe just kind of warps around us in magical ways. Like that's something I've definitely been leaning into more in recent times. You know, the last, you know, 4 however many years has really taught me some amazing lessons with everything that the music industry has gone through in that time, and the challenges that were presented through that. And I've just come to this place now where I'm not in the energy of chasing anymore. You know, not to say that I'm not putting in work in the background and stuff like that, but I've just got this incredible trust now that like the universe has my back. And like when, you know, things might be getting like a little bit icky financially and stuff like that, it's almost like I don't want to say don't care, but I just don't, it doesn't like affect me like physically anymore. Like I don't feel that physical tension in my body anymore, which is so powerful. And I just trust. I just go, yep, nah. There's been so many, especially in the last 4 years, there's been so many instances to prove to me that when you just trust that you're taken care of, like 100%. And I can't remember where I heard it, but they talk about like abundance is maybe not what everyone thinks it is, where people think that abundance is like, you know, having a big mansion and a private jet and all this stuff. But, you know, the essence of abundance is really just you've always got what you need at the time when you need it. And that when I heard that really, I think that was probably like a bit of a turning point for me, where I started to go, okay. So, all right. So I just got to like put out the intention of what I want to do, when I want to do it, and just let the rest kind of fall into place, and just, you know, keep on taking the kind of the right actions, to solidify that intention, and the rest is not up to me. It's you know, there's something really powerful and special about that.
Yeah, I 1,000% agree with you there too. Like that is powerful. And I can totally relate. It's like coming to this place where, I mean, things can get a bit hairy. And you're like, you can go, oh, not really sure how this is going to go, but I know it's going to be okay. Like, I just know it's going to be okay. And if shit hits the fan for some reason, you go, okay, well, this is happening for me on some level. I'm going to go with it. I'm going to go with it. And it just somehow it works out, doesn't it? It's just it is a beautiful place to be, because I'm sure so many people can relate to that feeling of, oh, fuck, what am I going to do? Like, and you get all tense and you're just like, but when you can let go of that, like, it's just so empowering, isn't it?
Yeah. And just once again, that word, like magic, like magical, like the way that, things just happen, like when you take that that mindset or that approach. It's just, like I said, it just you just constantly find yourself getting confirmation that's the path, so to speak. Yeah, it's really cool. I'm really grateful that like I've found that that stage, or that place, because I know that a lot of people go through their whole freaking life like in that fight or flight mode, which, you know, I've definitely been there myself over the years, many times, and no doubt will go there again at some point, you know. But yeah, I just find like I spend less and less time in that stage, you know, the more that I move forward and the more that I, you know, discover, you know, constantly on the lookout for discovering new lessons and things like that.
Yeah, I'm so with you on that. And that's the thing, like we've definitely experienced it, but it's less and less. And it's so and you can really have compassion for yourself if you do go there again. You're like, hey, I remember this, it's quite familiar, but we don't need to worry about it anymore, you know? And so that's pretty cool too, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean that is awareness in a nutshell. Right? That's what the game is. It's just it's building that awareness to then be able to navigate more effectively.
And you spoke about magic before too, and I know that you've had some real magic things happen in your life, and I know even with your music, like probably about 4 years ago when lots of things sort of started to change in the world, and you were one of those people who put out a post and said something, and I can't remember exactly, but maybe you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's got the tingles. Yeah. So what was it? Probably about November 2000. So I'm based in Melbourne. So I was lucky. I actually say, like, I was lucky enough to like get the full brunt of that that political what's the word for it? Like, it was almost like I saw it as like it was a political attack, like um on the population or whatever you want to call it, in my eyes. And maybe it was even further, it was more than that. Maybe there was a spiritual element of that attack.
Absolutely.
But so yeah, so I kind of was in the thick of that, which I now see as like a total blessing in disguise. The most painful period I've ever been through in my life, 100%. But yeah, so lucky to have gone through it. I've forgotten what the question was. Oh, the post. So around about November 2021, maybe October, I think that was when they were kind of starting to announce that they were going to, you had to have received, the vaccine in order to go to events and things like that, but people were allowed to go back to events and doing events now. And it just really icked me. I just, I was still discovering a lot about myself at that stage. And I just one day I just made this decision. I said, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm not participating in that. I won't. It just to me, it just sounded like, racial segregation all over again. Just, it's just a different approach. And that's where a lot of my heroes in music come from, that time, when that was happening. Your Chuck Berrys and your Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolves and all these kinds of amazing artists. And so I put out a post, and I just thought, all right, this is going to hurt. This is going to lose me a lot of fans, because the energy was intense at that time. Like, it was right in the thick of the storm.
Yeah.
But I just knew that I had friends in the industry all over the place starting to play shows again, and and those shows were only available to certain people, which I totally empathize with them. Like, there was a lot of people in the industry really hurting at that time, and just needing to just get some money in the bank and some work, like desperately, like absolutely desperately. But still, it didn't feel right to me, and so I put out this post, and like I said, thought, it's going to hurt. I'm going to lose a bunch of fans, but it feels like the right thing for me to do. And so I did it, and the complete opposite happened. It went completely viral. It it was shared 20,000 times around the world, approximately. That was just on my Facebook page. You know, however many times, I don't know, it was shared on Instagram. I don't think I was really tracking those analytics at the time. The Facebook page was, you can see it below the post, like shared.
Yeah.
You know, and I just was flooded with all this like amazing love and heartbreaking stories from people, you know, just telling me what they've been through. And, you know, every now and then there was like a little kind of spiteful comment or two, which was then like backed up by this like army of like, you know, soldiers just like jumping in there for me to defend. And, you know, I just didn't really get involved. In fact, any of those comments, I refused. Once again, this is another like thing I just refused to participate in. But the whole like, you know, bickering and fighting through the internet, through Facebook or Instagram, like whenever someone sends me one of those posts, I literally just reply with something like, "Look, I wish you nothing but happiness." You know, and it's amazing how many times I've done that, and that person who's just come at me with like venom then kind of sends me like a little direct message saying, "Oh, look, I'm actually really sorry what I said. I don't know what came over me. You're, you know," and they'll pay some kind of compliment and, you know, just own their shit essentially.
Yeah.
And I think that says a lot. I think when we can just hold our position and respond with like love, as opposed to like kind of biting back at the beast that's coming at us. Like there's so much power to that. And it really, because I think when people are in that stage, they're inner child, like just like acting out, right? And so, you know, you've kind of got to act as the parent in that situation and just be that strong kind of boundary and say, "Look, I can see that you're hurting right now, and something has triggered you in what I've said or whatever. But that's your responsibility, not mine. But I love you nonetheless." And yeah, so that post was definitely a game changer. And yeah, it's just it's led me down an amazing path, which, you know, continues to evolve and present itself.
It's so special, and it just goes to show that when you do stand in your power and stand in your truth, even though it can be bloody scary, but you know you have to do it anyway. Like you have to do it because your soul is you'll be going against yourself if you do anything different. So I mean, the courage that it would have taken you, but at the same time you're like, no, I can't do this. And then to have all that love come back, like I guess it just would have really, I mean, you probably would have gone to bed, woken up the next day and just seen all this love come in. Like it just would have been.
It was instant. It was
Was
like
that really? Yeah.
as soon as I posted it, there was like 100 comments underneath it. Like, it
Wow.
was insane. Like I just went, whoa, like something's just happened.
Yeah.
Something just clicked. And just to add to like the picture of the situation, I'd come out of a 8-year relationship just a couple of months earlier, which was obviously, you know, really hard and you know, we had a mortgage together, so we'd kind of foreclosed on that, and I'd let that go, and I'd moved my whole life back into the bedroom of my parents' house for a couple of months. So I was sitting in this bedroom, and, you know, I love them to death, but my parents were seeing the world a lot differently to me.
Yeah.
So it was this insane. That bedroom presented this amazing like spiritual journey for me. Like it was like it was literally like I was jailed for a moment of time, by myself, you know, completely like, and I'd set up, you know, my little workspace next to this double bed in this small bedroom. And I was working from in there, and I just remember I just sat and wrote the post there. And yeah, like I said, it was instant. It was as soon as I posted that it was like boom, like 100 plus comments. Just they were nonstop for at least a couple of days, and then it still kind of just kept flowing for a number of weeks afterwards. And I just at the time I didn't have any other real thing to do but to ride that wave and just respond to all the love that was coming in, which I guess probably just increased that reach, and it was incredible.
Because like in Melbourne, not only were you in that, I mean, you were like you're like in a jail cell almost, but you weren't allowed to go outside and really do anything at all. Like you guys caught the brunt of it over there. So I just think that was like this light at the end of the tunnel that just came in for you. And not only for you, but for so many people just going, oh, thank you for saying that. Like and that's why the love poured out, and that they had someone there that sort of gave them permission to be able to do what you did back to you. You know what I mean? To be able to express their feelings and how they were feeling, because so many people were feeling quite alone, and just for you to do that would have just been a breath of fresh air, I think.
Yeah, and I think the message that I received a lot was that I was one of very few musicians that they'd seen doing that. They said all these musicians that have written all these protest songs over the years and all these rebellious kind of lyrics and stuff like that, we're just carrying on as if there's nothing to see here. And I think what resonated with them was that they saw a musician that's done that themselves. I've definitely written kind of rebellious stuff over the years, and I was, I guess, just staying true to that. But like I said, I completely empathize with all those musicians that just felt they just needed to just get out and make their living again. I don't hold that against them or resent them for that at all. It was a crazy time, and I've got nothing but love.
Yeah, you are a ball of love. Keep going.
I want to also because I was saying that I was very isolated and very alone, but in that time I was kind of experimenting and doing these sessions with a friend of mine, Fiona, who runs a little business called Earth Soul Sky, and we were doing some incredible work through what's called like liquid crystals.
Oh yeah, I've had liquid crystals before. Yeah.
So that was happening at that time as well. So I've got no doubt that had something to do with what happened as well. So I just want to I don't want to I want to acknowledge her work in that as well. It was really powerful.
Absolutely, it sure is, and it's there at the time that you're supposed to have it. So and you saying that too. Acknowledging that is beautiful, because it's not just one thing, is it? There's always so many pieces to something, and you think, like you sort of touched on it before, like you let sort of spirit take care of it. You set your intention, you do whatever. But if you're following your heart, which you were in this time, like everything's working out on all these different layers that we've got no idea. Like our conscious mind couldn't even conceive half the shit that's going on, and then that's why it feels so magic, because it is really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think like that, as you said that, I just went back to like the game aspect of it, and you think about there's programmers of the game out there that know where, as you're like Mario and you're jumping along, they know where it's taking you, but you've got no idea yet. Until you kind of get to that next level, and each time you get to that next level, there's like this excitement, but then to pass that next level, like there's definitely some failures along the way. It's pretty rare that you just instantly just get through the next level. A friend of mine, Trevor Hendy, who's like ex surf lifesaver, like world champion.
Yeah.
he described to me through this time, actually, he described it as like a ladder, or he described it as a ladder, but I saw it more as like when you're walking along a concrete path, and I can't remember if I had this conversation with you at Living Free, but there's those little cracks in the concrete to create the blocks of the path.
Mm.
And I saw it more as that, like we're walking along this path, and each time, we pass one of those cracks, there's then this like, this is all very metaphorical, but, to get past the next crack, we fly towards it, but then there's this thing that like kind of pushes us back because we still haven't kind of learnt the lessons we need to get through it, and we have to like push our way through it.
Mm.
And then we get to the next one, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
That's, to me, like that is the game.
Yeah, totally. And when you were talking about the game too, and you're saying I was like, maybe we're the person we created the game anyway. We already know how it all plays out, and we forgot. So we came here and we're part of this amazing show on Earth, and all of this stuff that's unraveling. It's so cool, isn't it? It's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that makes way more sense, doesn't it? And it puts the power within us that, that we are, we have that, for whatever term you want to call it, the God within us, absolutely.
Yeah. And you know what I love that you said as well too, because I know I've felt exactly what you're saying. It's like you go to a certain point, in that crack in the road, and then you get pushed back, you hit these brick walls, and then you have to dig deep. It takes courage too, like and real trust and the more that you hit them, and if you give up, well, then that's where you stay. But if you know and you tap into your heart and you trust, you're like, no, I know I just got to take that next step again. I know I just got to do it again, get back up, do it, and you get through it, and then you are like Mario Brothers. You've gone ding to the next level.
I was going to say, what happens in Mario Brothers when you die? You go back to the start of the level, right?
Yeah.
Or you go to like there's little checkpoints throughout the level. There might be one or two checkpoints throughout the level, and if you get past that checkpoint, then it kind of pushes you back to the checkpoint.
Yeah. Which Mario Brothers are you thinking of? The old school one?
Yeah, 100%.
The old school, yeah.
I'm an old soul. I'm an analog guy for sure. Like,
yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm picturing Nintendo, like hitting the bricks as like while we're talking.
Totally, none of this like 3D animation stuff. No, 2D.
Yeah.
Bad, crusty, analog TV style.
Yeah, that's the bad. Yeah. I think, did I cut you off before? Did you have something else to add to that as well?
No. If you did, I've already forgotten that. So.
Yeah, no, that's great. No, I just was Mario Brothers. Now I want to get a bloody Nintendo. The old, was it Nintendo 64? And just rock that out.
I don't have a TV these days, but I've still got my Nintendo sitting there waiting to be dusted off at some point. Like,
really? So you got the Super Mario Brothers? Is it Super Mario Brothers? Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Well, next time I'm in Melbourne, I'm so playing that. Oh, that's awesome. So all this time, you would have been working and having this time to reflect, but also to be able to produce more music. And I can imagine, as the musician that you are, that you would have had some real cracker songs come out of that. Are there any that you've just I know you've got a recent one that you're really that we spoke about a bit. Can't remember if you played it or not at Living Free, but do you want to talk a bit about that as well?
Yeah, I mean, I've been writing my last release. Well, there was one release that came out of that. I released a track called "Holding On to Hope" in 2021.
Yeah.
So I managed to get out and do a small tour in the middle of the kind of the lockdowns, when we were told we could go and be free for a moment. Prior to mandates, there was like this period where everyone was allowed to just go and live again in quote unquote freedom.
It was like a little break, wasn't it? It was like
it was probably a period out. It was a couple of weeks or a couple of months maybe. So I managed to get out and do a tour in that time and release a song, this song called "Holding On to Hope." So for for many years prior to all that, I'd been writing this little message. I don't know I can't remember where it came from. I think it was from my own experience years prior, between about 2015 to 17, where I went through this really heavy depression. And I learned about like hope, I guess, through that process. And so I've been writing this little message on people's merchandise and stuff at the end of shows when they come and buy a vinyl or CD or T-shirt or whatever. And it's just, it's just keep on holding on to hope. And I'd always wanted to put that into a song, like that lyric, and had tried like so many times and just, fallen short every time. It just didn't feel right. And then in, when the pandemic hit in about March, April, was when it all kind of clicked, and I had this old, like, kind of really bad piano at my old house. It was kind of a little bit out of tune and stuff. And I sat down and like it was just one of those moments where the song just kind of fell into place really organically and naturally. And, this kind of beautiful chord progression presented itself to me, and that I never would have been able to get on a guitar. And I don't really play piano that much. Like it's really just a writing instrument for me. I'm by no means a whiz on the piano. And so I released that. I managed to quickly jump into the studio with a producer called Nick Huggins, who I was working with at the time down in Point Lonsdale in Victoria. And we put that song together really quickly. Like, listening to the recording now, I personally can kind of like tell that like it was just slapped together as quick as possible, and probably could have done with a little bit more love, but that's just where that was just what the situation was at the time. And I just really felt pulled to get that song out there. And it's probably the first song I've ever written from like this just place of like unconditional love and absolutely zero expectations. It was just like, I just felt like I didn't have that. I couldn't, there was obviously people in the medical industry and all that who were doing lots of work at that time. And I just, as a musician, kind of felt like I was struggling to find my place to like, where do I fit into this picture? What value can I offer? And I, as I've done many times before, I came to the conclusion I could just write a song. Like that's kind of, I can't build a house, I can't cook, I can't, I'm not a gym instructor, any of that stuff. Like, but I can write a song, or I can write words. I think writing is where I seem to deliver the most value, in just from what I've seen in people kind of coming back to me and their words from that. So I did that. I wrote this song and got it recorded and put it out, and released that in 2021, I think around about June, and managed to do a short tour just in Victoria. And but since then I've been writing a lot, and there's been a number of songs. I've got like a song called Fight For You, which was very much, I haven't released these yet, but it's very much inspired by the energy that I experienced at a lot of those protests that I went. I was attending those protests. I probably wouldn't now, like now that I know what I know, and I wouldn't go to something like that anymore. But I was at the time. That's where I was at, and just the energy that and the love and community that I experienced in those protests. So that song was inspired by that. And then there's this other one, Sick and Tired, which I'm looking to release next year, which is very much just the how to say this, like it's just the mindset of so many at that time, like kind of waking up to like the reality of maybe the health system, the health or healthcare, which is really just a sick care system. And so there's that. And even just we've talked about it, but I've joined Cal Washington, his In Power movement, and I'm learning all about that at the moment. And I was on a call just the other day, and I don't want to say too much because I I did send a message to Dave just yesterday saying I've got something in the works, but there's something in the works there as well that was very much inspired by that. It's just like a download sometimes, just like it is. So the last 2 days has just been me off in that. It's like another world. Like when I'm in that space, it's like, and it can get like kind of debilitating, like because I sometimes see the rest of my life kind of like falling apart because I'm just lost in this other creative world completely, and it's hard to pull away from that when I'm being pulled at it. And so I've learned to accept that a bit more now and just go, yep, things are going to fall apart around me, but if I just kind of get this done, then I'll, things will pull themselves back together once I've gone through that process. So yeah, long story short, there's lots of songs being written, and I'm now in like kind of starting to produce my next record. I've decided I'm going to be the producer on it, which I've never done before, which is a really fun, exciting, somewhat at times painful process, like making lots of mistakes and learning lots of really hard lessons and doing, putting a whole song together and then, starting to mix it and then realizing, crap, it's not quite up to speed. Like I got to start again, back to the start of the level. But, it's I'd be lying if I said I'm not enjoying that process.
Yeah. And I think that's something that's really, and I'm sure any musician or any artist or anyone, or any writer, any creative person can relate to, because you do it because you love it, but there's going to be shitty bits in it. And so especially when you're learning, like to produce now, as well as do the music, to then have to learn like some of the things, like I know when I've started learning how to just edit videos, it would be hours on YouTube just going, what the fuck do I need to do here? And it'd be the tiniest little thing, a little button that you need to press, but it took you like 6 hours to find the video that would tell you how to do it. But you're doing it because there's something pulling you to do it. Like that desire is there. And when you talk about how you go into that place, like you have that download, like to me, that's, the infinite possibilities. That idea chose you, and then it's your responsibility to bring it to life. So if it does get a little bit hairy and a bit painful, you still have to do it because something is pulling you, and you can't, I don't know the words, but it's just a feeling, isn't it? You just got to follow it.
Yeah, and probably not think about it too much, and just accept it for what it is. And like you said, I think there is a level of responsibility there. I definitely feel that. Like, I've always kind of felt. We could get into that dream that I told you about, but I've always, since I was very young, felt this sense of like that I had. Some responsibility in all of this, like not to say that that I am God, but like that I could influence how the game goes, so to speak.
Yeah. Do you want to share about that?
Yeah, let's go there.
Why not? Let's do it. Go on, Shaun.
I've talked about it a little bit now, kind of publicly, but it was something I was very kind of like almost ashamed of for a long time, but because that was coming from my own like inner judgment or insecurity and fear of judgment, I guess. But when I was young, probably around 7 or 8 years old, I used to have this reoccurring dream where there was like this world, like it looked like the world we've all been told about inside my stomach. And I kind of affected that world depending on how I treated myself. So if I fed myself like crappy, like, Macca's triple cheeseburgers or something like that, the world inside my stomach would just start to fall to pieces. Like, it'd be darkness and hurricanes and firestorms and all that stuff, whereas the opposite was true. If I fed myself, I probably one of my favorite foods is like bananas. Like I I'm one of those people that could literally, I reckon, like live on bananas. If there was like one food on earth we were given to live on, if it was bananas, I'd be totally fine.
Yeah.
So, if I'm feeding myself that and drinking clean water and all that kind of thing, and salad and, all these like really nurturing foods, the opposite would happen. The sun would come out and the birds would start singing, blue skies, and everyone's hugging each other. And so that just really like, it stuck with me. And God knows how many times I had that dream, but enough times for it to like really like, for me to really remember it. And so moving through my teens and stuff, I always felt this kind of like, something's not quite right here. I'm not in the right place here. Like I was hanging out with the wrong crew, and they were kind of all heading down this really kind of bad path. And I was always that one in the group that was like, I don't know if we should do that, guys. Like just, and I would be like, they'd go off and, kind of tempt danger, and I'd be kind of like, yeah, I'm going to just sit back and watch over you guys. Like, guys, I think it's time for us to leave. Like, so there was like always this like inner kind of leadership within me. I don't know where that came from, but I think very much like from this dream. And I just felt like I was here for a purpose, I guess, which I think we all are. But I guess I was just lucky to connect with that realization quite young. And that led me down like trying to figure out like what that was. And when I was 16, and I broke my ankle at school playing football. I got tackled by one of my friends who was much bigger than me, and he really slammed me into the ground in a game of markers up. And I put my foot out in front of me as he was doing that and landed really awkwardly, and just literally heard like this crack, like that I remember. It was like a. Did you hear that?
Yes, I did. Right at that time.
Yeah. So I mean, that says it all, right? Like, but so yeah, I had this crack that reverberated like that throughout the whole kind of schoolyard. Wow. It felt like to me anyway. I'm sure it wasn't the whole schoolyard, but the guy who tackled me, he heard it. He knew exactly what had happened as soon as it happened, and I instantly kind of course, yelled "fuck!" and
as you would.
Yeah. So anyway, I'd broken and dislocated my ankle all at one time. I looked down and my ankle was left, and I'd only just started dabbling with the guitar a few months earlier to that. My mum had put it in my room I think because she could see like I was, searching, like trying to figure out. She could see that like art was a potential pathway for me and something that I was connecting with. I was drawing a lot at the time. And yeah, that then forced me to sit in a hospital bed for about 5 days waiting for surgery. I think it was 4 or 5 days. And yeah, that was where I actually wrote my first song. I remember my father at the time came in and brought in a little like poetry, like a journal, and said, "Why don't you just write some poetry or something?" Like, so I no longer have a relationship with my father, but I'm grateful for him for that suggestion. Don't want to discredit that he was the one that made that suggestion either. So both my parents played a part in that the beginning of that journey. I wrote my first song, and then had to kind of sit in recovery for a couple of months, I think it was. And that was where the love really like started to blossom. And I was learning all kinds of, songs and writing songs and learning new chords. And it was just this shitty, like little nylon string, like cheap as anything nylon string guitar, but it sounded so amazing to me. And then, within probably about a year, I reckon, when I was about 17, I'd started attending like open mic nights. And the first one I ever went to was I wasn't there for the open mic night. I think a bunch of me and my friends were, drinking and ended up at this bar underage where they didn't ask us for ID, and and my friends had obviously I'd probably started playing some of these songs to my mates, and they'd kind of encouraged me, oh, you should get up and play a song. And I'd never done that before in my life, but I had a little bit of Dutch courage to help me out. And
yeah.
And I remember distinctly walking up to one of the older guys that were running the open mic night and like asking him, like, can I like borrow your guitar? This 17-year-old drunk asking it in the guy's face, just being like, yeah, okay, like, and you see the terror on his face. But he, to his credit, he let me borrow it, and I got up and played a song. And I don't know how much reality or truth there is to it, but from what I remember, people were kind of coming up afterwards and being like, wow, that was really good, man. Like,
yeah.
And just something clicked, and I was like, whoa, like, what was that feeling? Like, people were resonating with what I just did. Like, and that's where it all really started.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing all of that, because it's so powerful. And to me, as you was talking about your ankle breaking and then having the guitar there from earlier and the crack right on. Yeah. I mean, that's just synchronistic, just magic right there. But yeah, just that was supposed to happen. Like that's the thing. Like, sometimes a shitty thing will happen. It's a pain in the ass when you break your ankle, and it's not very comfortable at all. But look, it had to happen in order for you to get you on your path. And so you're grateful for those times. And I think, like, hindsight's awesome. We can see the journey so much easier. And that's why when you do get caught up in something and you're not sure what's going on, to be able to then, like you were saying before, come back to that trust and know, well, this must be working for me at some level. I don't know what it's going to look like yet. So I love that you shared that and your dream. Like, I mean, that's the second time I've heard you tell it. And I remember when you said that, just going, whoa, that is just so powerful. Not everyone has a dream like that. And to me, that just, it shows to me, and I'm sure everyone listening, is that we are the creator of our reality, and what we consume, whether it's food, knowledge, how we speak to ourselves, anything like that, that creates the reality we live in. And it's just a perfect picture of that. And that dream it's just so powerful. Yeah.
Yeah. And I probably didn't really like recognize what that dream was telling me until maybe even just in the last couple of years, where I really learned about, like, what we digest is so much more than just food. It's like, it's what information are we listening to every day, and where are we going for our morning walk in the morning? Like, are we going and walking just through these like crusty factories and stuff like that, where there's like smoke and dust and honking, and and that might just be all that some people have. But is there maybe a cleaner path that we can take, where there's maybe a few more trees and some grass, and somewhere where we can maybe take our shoes off every now and then and kind of just feel into that, like the natural elements of the earth. And and I had something else I was going to say, that I've totally lost that train of thought.
If it comes back in, do you want me to talk? Yeah. Because I just had a picture of your next album cover with that picture in the you could do.
Yeah.
What do you reckon?
Yeah, I've got some.
I know that's a tricky one too.
Like,
yeah.
No. Like, I mean, I've got a number of. I'm taking this new approach. Like, I went and saw Paul Kelly do an amazing like keynote a couple of years back. And I'm taking this kind of new approach to that process of, like, creating an album. Whereas in the past, it was that hustle kind of mentality. It was like, oh, I've just kind of banged one out, and now crap, like, I've got to like create another one. Got to go, and it was like this like tension the whole time. Whereas in the last couple of years, and I've no doubt like had people kind of like kind of like be like, oh, come on, sure, like hurry up kind of thing. And that's fine. Like that's, at the end of the day, these are my creations, and people probably think I'm like being a bit of a perfectionist, which maybe I am to a certain degree. But anyway, the approach that Paul Kelly talked about was that he just writes and he just records, and he doesn't think about like, is this going to be an album? He just writes and he puts them in what he calls the bank.
Yeah.
And then as the bank grows, he then goes, oh, like that, I can see how that one, and that one really fit together really well. There's like a common theme there. So I'm gonna put that out as an album. But wait, now I've got like this, and that's why Paul Kelly has been so prolific, is because he's not treating it as like one project at a time. Like he's just going with the flow, and then going, cool. Oh, wow. Like, look at all this stuff I've created. I guess I should probably put some of it out there. This fits together. Cool. Off you go. Like, there's my gift to the world. Oh, there's another gift. Like, so I'm really embracing that approach now, and it's taking a lot of like patience on my behalf, but I 100% trust it. And I can just see the more that I lean into it, the fruits of, how the fruits of that labor are going to kind of come back, or the ducks are lining up, the more that I just trust it, and just like I said, like earlier, just take small actions every day, like towards that, and live that approach. It's all just, slowly but surely kind of coming together. And so back to what you were saying about the album cover is, I've probably got like maybe 3 or 4 different kind of albums in the works at the moment, like that could of songs that could, and they could fit together, and they've all kind of got different themes. There's these songs that are, very much inspired by the last couple of years, and then there's these songs that are just really about love, and songs about like that kind of spiritual journey, soul realization, or whatever you want to call it. There's just options galore. I think that's just that's that abundance thing coming through again, right? It's just like, wow, like holy crap, like it's almost like too much to choose from.
And that's awesome. I love that you're doing it that way, because, and like, you're right. Like, otherwise it is just like, we've got to do an album, we've got to do this many songs, and it becomes rigid and it's not fun anymore. And you do it because it's fun. And I love that, that's an awesome approach to be able to do that. And again, bringing in that trust. Like, I think seems to be a theme in so many of the conversations that I have with people, is that, the more you trust and the more you follow your intuition and take the action, because you got to take the action too, towards that thing, and enjoy it as you go. Like, it's really simple, really. But we like to overcomplicate things sometimes too, don't we?
Yeah, well, I would say that the ego loves to like take us like, past or future. Like, it just loves to go there, to these places that actually don't exist. They're, except for, within the imagination. Like, none of us have ever actually been in that moment of the past, so to speak. Like, we're always in the moment of now. And so that's where the process happens, right? So I've really learnt like just to be in that moment and enjoy that. And that's where the enjoyment actually is. And then, as long as you're operating there, I think you're operating from the essence, your essence or the soul or whatever you want to call it, and you're not in that ego anymore. Like that's kind of, it's always like over there, centered, so to speak, is maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. And just before we were talking about the album cover, you had a thought that went somewhere. Did it come back in? No, it wasn't needed. That's all right. Always trust that. See, you got to trust it. Got to trust it.
Yeah.
Oh, while I've got you, what would be right now? And obviously, it's this conversation that's amazing. But what is on your heart that you would love to share with anyone right now, or just that you've been thinking about, or just musing about, or anything like that?
Mm, oh, that's such a good question, mate. I think just very much like what we've been talking about is just
Yeah.
like is that trusting the process, being present now, um, and learning to like let go of you know the ego is real. That's been the big lesson for me. Is like the more I can learn to identify when I'm in ego, which is, Shaun Kirk, essentially. Like that is where our ego begins when we're given that name at birth. Like
Mm.
that's where we're kind of like told that, or implied that we must, operate as this person.
Mm. Mm.
Um, and whenever I can kind of like, separate myself from that, with the awareness and just operate from like that place of soul. That's how I describe it. It's like you're either almost, well, yeah, probably 100% of the time you're either operating from ego or you're operating from soul.
Mm.
And so ego is limited. It's often, when you're in those states of fear,
Mm.
anger, resentment, those kind of like those hotter, I guess you'd call them, energies, and feelings and emotions. That's usually when we're kind of we've clicked over into ego, and the other one is like soul, which is where you're limitless and free and light and love. Like love is obviously the main theme of that, but like, so I think the message for me is learn, is make it your, in my experience, the life mission is to really identify those two, and then, slowly but surely get better at like, I think they've both got their benefits. Like, I don't think it's
Absolutely.
about like, I think when we're trying to like just completely break free from the ego, I think that's dangerous territory because it's there. I think it's there for a reason. Like it's got its purpose. Um, But, at the same time, like, should we be spending the majority of our time in that ego? I don't know if that's completely healthy and necessary either. And so, um, I think it's a balancing act.
Like the
But
yin and the
for me,
yang.
yeah, the yin and the yang. Oh, that's so funny. So like that symbol was so. I was obsessed with that when I was young. Like when I used to do, yeah, it's tingles once again that you said that. Like, um, when I used to do karate when I was quite young, um, and at the time, I think my parents were kind of going through their divorce and stuff, and so I've always been just, from when I was even just an infant, I've been rebellious. Apparently, like my mum tells me stories of how I just wouldn't, I wouldn't go to sleep. I wouldn't let my father put me to sleep, and things like this. And I can see now, kind of why that was the case, and but that yin and yang, was something that I discovered through the process of karate and the discipline that was kind of involved with that practice, and I was just obsessed with it. And it's so funny, like I've had so many meetings with graphic designers and stuff over the years now, like designing merchandise or album covers and stuff like that, and the question they always ask is like, "Is there a symbol or something that represents you?" And, it's always just I always just draw a bit of a blank there and go, "I don't know," like,
Yeah.
only thing I can ever say is like, the only symbol that I've ever really found myself, like, connected to was yin and yang.
Mm. Mm.
So for you to say that, like, just then was like, so maybe that's sums up everything that I was just saying
Mm.
about ego and soul. It's yin and yang, right?
Mm.
Yeah, it's that balance. They're forever kind of like intertwined, and neither are, quote unquote wrong, because,
Mm.
for them to be wrong would be completely like in ego space.
Yes.
Um, the ego seems to think that it knows how things should be. So that's another great indicator that you're operating in that ego space, whereas
Mm.
the soul kind of understands that, like, no, I think everything's happening perfectly. Yeah,
Mm.
even even when it seemed imperfect, it's all perfect. So yeah, yin and yang. That's the message. You kind of answered the question for me. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, but that's the thing. And I love this conversation so much because it is so much that you can't have one without the other. You can't be only in one and not the other. That's why you can't just be love and light, because that isn't balanced either. You have to be able to be, I mean, I say it quite a lot. It's just that tree in the storm that sees everything's going around, but you accept and see that it is what it is. Even though I've not always loved that saying, I must admit, but being that tree that can stand in the storm and see everything doing what it's doing and know that it has that place and that you will stand strong in who you are as well. Do you feel that as well?
Oh, 1,000%. I was just about to say, I think the trap that a lot of people fall into is that they fall for this notion that they must be all light, and happy and love and all that stuff. And the truth is that we've got both. Like I've got darkness in me, like crazy darkness.
Yeah.
And for a long time, I tried to resist that, and that resistance is where all the suffering comes from. So that's not to say that like we should, go out there and kick people's heads in and release that anger in really unhealthy ways. It's for me, the journey is like learning to embrace both sides, the light and the dark, which I absolutely have, and I'm sure you do too, and everyone else listening to does, as much as that may pain them to hear. But we do, and that's okay. Like that's okay. And so I think it's about learning to express, because you can express the light in really unhealthy ways as well. That's what I think a lot of people don't realize is like, you can become a self-sacrificer and stuff like that, where it's coming from this place of like love, on the surface, but it's really coming from maybe some of those darker elements. And so it's just the journey is just like once again, it's the yin yang thing, right? It's like light and dark, like balance, forever intertwined, like, and it's from that, like that place of acceptance of the two that's where all the magic is. Like I often think about like, in my experience, the journey of like self-growth or self-development or discovery or whatever you want to call it is kind of like these 3 A's. It's like the first thing you need in order to like take that step is like awareness, right? Like, because if you're not aware of what needs is the wrong word, what you'd like to change, then it's never going to happen, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so first comes the awareness, and then the acceptance, right? Like then you've got to kind of like accept, okay, cool, like this is where I'm at, this is reality, right? And all these other stories that I'm maybe trying to tell myself are not based in like reality. Like I've got to accept this is where I'm at, and that's okay. That acceptance process. And then the next one is the action, right? Like then you can start, once you've got through those, the awareness, the acceptance, then you can start taking that action that we talked about, like as to like, all right, and these are the steps I'm now going to kind of start taking in order to create that change that I'm looking for in my life.
I love that you said that, because it is really that simple. And that's the thing. And I'm someone who loves, when I'm working with people, just with my own life, is just keeping it simple. Like it really is like but if you're not aware, and when you do become aware, don't stay there, become aware, then you got to accept it and then move on. And got to is probably not the right word either, but you know what I mean? And then take that action. So, I mean, and that's so easy for people to remember, AAA, just remember that.
I would even say like, once you've got that awareness, stay there if you want to.
Yeah, well, that's right, for as long as you need to. Yeah, depending on what it is. If it's going to spiral you into a pit of like, but then maybe that's what needs to happen as well too. Exactly. Very good point. Very good point.
Yeah, like I think the underlying message there is that like, going back to choice, like you've got choices. And
always.
and there's it's not to say that there's not consequences to those choices. There's always consequences. It's just like, all right, it's just weighing up, okay, which consequences feel better for me.
Yeah. And then with that choice, I mean, and then it comes back to responsibility too. Like, we're responsible for how we're going to show up in our life. So our choice with how we're going to respond to something, whether we sit in that awareness for a long time or a short time, that's a choice. And then we make that choice. So what do we want to do from there? So, I mean, that to me is one of the most powerful things that we all have, is that power of choice. So choosing to become aware of something, choosing to sit in the awareness or go to the acceptance, and then choosing to take the action, like that's magic as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so funny. I'm going back to Mario now, like as a great metaphor. Like, am I going to go down the tunnel, or am I going to jump across the cliff?
Yeah.
And take that path. Which one do I want to take?
Yeah.
Both probably come with challenges. Both probably come with elements of magic. Like, which one do I want to take?
Yeah. Mario Brothers really did teach us a lot, didn't it?
I love how these conversations can that's the magic of podcasts, like it can go anywhere. Like, as a musician, I think I talked to you about this at the festival, like, done so many radio interviews and stuff over the years, and I'm almost at the point now where I'm just like ready to just go, nah, I don't do them anymore, because they're so mechanical and so predictable. It's almost like a drain of my energy now. Like, and I know in 95% of interviews what I'm going to be asked, it's going to be, where do you come from, and what are your influences? And what are you doing right now? That's essentially like how every interview goes. It goes for 15 minutes, and you bang out the same answer to everyone, and then the half the time the presenter doesn't even know your name. Just like they're looking at a piece of paper. I've got Shaun with me. And it's just like, what is this? Like, what am I doing? Like, this is not. Something about this doesn't feel quite right, and so that's why I just, if there's any other podcast presenters out there at the moment, like, I just applaud you guys for what you're doing, because it's opening up the world of possibilities through conversation. And it's so magical to watch, like that happening, like and just the conversations that then come from those conversations. When you talk to your friend, oh, did you listen to this podcast? Or I reckon you should go check out this podcast. Like, it's so special, and I think it's because, like I said earlier, like, it can just go they don't. Well, majority of them don't really have a plan. It's just like, we're just gonna converse.
Yeah.
And see where it all takes us. And like, that's where the magic is. Like, when we let go of this need to control it all.
Absolutely. And I couldn't agree more. And that's what I love about it too, is like, I'll have the notes to introduce someone, and then welcome them to the show. And then I'm like, all right, Spirit, I'm just going to trust wherever this goes. And also just really trust it's what is for the highest good of us all, like what needs to be heard, or, and just, and I know for myself, like, I'll have a conversation with someone, and maybe there's something I'm working on or trying to nut out, or just, waiting for something to drop in. And no shit, so many times the guest will say something, and I'm like, I so needed to hear that. And it wouldn't mean anything to someone else. But then I'm sure then other people listening, they have some sort of gold nugget drop in about something else that they, need to hear. And that's the beauty of it all, the beauty of sharing stories and being able to relate. And because everyone can relate to stories and feel into that and feel into other people's hearts, and just, I don't know, it ignites something more than just like it's like doing a resume then, isn't it? When you're doing those bloody interviews where you've got 15 minutes to just answer the same questions. It's too rigid, and you want it to be open and flowing, don't you?
Totally. Yeah. I was having a similar conversation to this a couple of days ago with a friend, where we were talking about like, do you want to just like kind of close off that all this is kind of like happening for a reason, and that we can pick up on those messages along the path, and like, like that crashing sound outside
Yeah.
early, like that happened right when I was talking about the sound of my ankle snapping,
I
you know,
just
things like that,
yeah.
you know, and once again, it comes down to choice. Like some people choose like, nah, it's, you know, it's just a coincidence.
Yeah.
And it's like, cool. All right. No worries. If that's your approach. Cool.
Yeah.
Or you can go, wow, like that was, whoa, what? Like
Yeah.
how did that just happen? You know, and what are the answers, and go seeking for them. And like the question I would put to people is like, you know, which one feels more exciting?
Yeah.
Like, because, and, you know, do you want to live a life of like excitement and magic, or do you want to just live one that feels like you kind of just here, like just kind of like seeing out your existence and, you
Mm.
know, because we do have a choice in that. Like we can, and I mean, who am I to say? Maybe both are a complete lie. Who knows? Which lie, you know, are you going to choose?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
because we get to choose. But
Yeah. Oh, maybe they're both right, or maybe they're both, well, not that they're right or wrong, but maybe
yeah,
they are, or maybe
yeah,
both have to be that, because we live in a world of duality. So we've got to have the people that want to do it one way and the people that want to do it another way in order for it to be the yin and the yang balance. Yeah, I don't
yeah,
know. Yeah, but
yeah,
I'm with you. Like and I've often thought about that. I think there's a quote, and I can't remember what the quote is, but it's something along the lines of exactly what you said. Like you can either choose to see everything as just dull, or you choose to see it as magic, and it's totally up to you. And
yeah,
I'm with you. I think I would choose. Let's go the exciting magic part. Like, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you
yeah,
want to see it as magic and the synchronicities and the, you know, like right when you talk about snapping your ankle, that there's a big bang right at that time. Like to me, that's, I mean, I remember listening to a podcast once, and I was walking along the beach, and it was still as, and then the podcaster said something about, and then this big gush of wind came in, and I shit you not, right at that time, big gush of wind. I'm like, okay, well, that to me is special. That to me is a moment. And then, you know, other times on my walk, I was thinking about something, and just getting all these signs, and I reckon I'd had about 7 signs that day so far. As a number, or I can't remember exactly. And then normally I might have been listening to a podcast, but I was just walking along. This guy walked past and said the exact phrase. At the top, he was an American guy, so it was quite a loud, really. And I was just like, you can't script that shit. And that to
yeah,
me is magic, isn't it?
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Or maybe it is all scripted. Who knows?
Maybe. Yeah, well, that's right. But, oh, she's
But
down
that's the
that track.
magic in itself. You know,
Yeah.
like that is the magic in itself. I think just having that curiosity and that wonder and
Mm.
excitement, and like, and it all, once I think it all stems back to like, you know, what do we like when I think about this stuff? I go, okay, what do we like? What do we look like? How do we act when we're at like our earliest stage before a lot of the quote unquote like programming is kind of built into us?
Mm.
And you know, you look at a baby, like, and you know, their eyes are like, you know, the whole time they're just like, eyes are beaming out of their head, because they're just in this like this. You can just see that they're so present, and you know, it only takes a small click like over here for them to go, whoa, like what was that? And
Yeah.
like, you know, the more that we can like connect with that, I
Mm.
think the more magic that we bring into our lives, or maybe it's not even bringing it in. It's just having that awareness. Once again, it's like being aware that it's there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's such a, in my experience, that's just such a incredible like place to be,
Mm. Yeah.
or you know, to yeah, to be is the good word.
Yeah. Be is a good word. It's funny. I had a dream last night, and I'm starting to wonder if a friend of mine might be pregnant, but you brought up a baby, and the baby was doing exactly that. Like, oh wow, like really just excited to be there. So the fact that and again, that's just another synchronicity. Could it just be a coincidence? Could it just be that? But who knows? And I think that also leads to the point where it's really just about questions, like having questions and having like the types of questions that open things up, that because that we don't have all the answers, but actually we live in a world I guess a realm where infinite possibilities exist. So everything that we've said probably all exists anyway. Well, it would have to. So it's just which part of the game are we tapping into, as well. So, I mean, there's that too, isn't there?
Yeah, and like that, I think that goes down to like the way that energy works, right? Like everything we see in this physical kind of 3D environment started with like a thought, like which is the initial energy, right? And then that thought was then given like it was like nurtured like a seed, like to grow into like, it starts off as this tiny little thing and then grows into like this, however many 100 years later, this incredible massive like tree. Right? Like everything like literally everything we see around us started that initial energy was just a thought. And so it's like, which, once again, choice, like we get a choice, like which thoughts do we want to like nurture? Because that then defines what we see around us.
Yeah.
So, like, do we want to nurture those negative thoughts, which are always going to be there? It's not about pushing them out. I read an amazing book years back when I was going through that depression called The Happiness Trap by a guy called Russ Harris.
Yes. Yeah.
I learned this amazing, just really simple but profound kind of process through that, which was, at the time I was really battling with a lot of these negative thoughts and in some like really dark places. And he described this process of just like saying like thank you to your mind, like when those thoughts come up, and just being like, cool, I can see, like, thank you mind, I know you're doing your job and you're just trying to protect me. And a lot of these thoughts are probably coming from that like mammalian kind of part of my brain, and I appreciate that, and I'm not trying to ignore you, or same as like if a child is sitting there like screaming at you going, yeah, like they just want some attention. It just wants you to recognize that it exists. And a lot of time when you just say hello, how are you, whatever to that child, they'll then settle down and a lot of the time probably just turn away and go do whatever it is they're doing. And so I think through that thank you process, like that once again that's that choice. It's like, okay, thank you. I appreciate that piece of information that I've been given. But on to the next one now. Like, what else have you got for me? Bring it on, and then, maybe more of those like positive ones then start to take forefront. That's what I've noticed is, the negative stuff. And this is, we could go down such a rabbit hole right now, but like this to me, like, goes right into like health and everything. Like, like I'm just going to say it. Like, I think a lot of what was going on through the pandemic was a mind game. It was absolutely it was the placebo or nocebo effect at play.
Yeah,
because all these people were getting this virus, even though they were in their house, they weren't really like connecting with people, or they weren't exposing themselves to the ways that we traditionally think a virus would spread, and yet they were getting sick. Why would that be? Could it be that they also had the TV in that house that was telling them the whole time that you're gonna get sick? You're gonna get sick. It was just getting absolutely like drilled into people's heads. So then that creates the thought, crap, am I starting to feel sick?
Yeah, power of the subconscious mind.
It's the nocebo effect, right? Like, it's the difference between placebo and nocebo. It's like placebo is like there's a physical element to it. It's like I take this pill, and even though it's just a Tic Tac, I believe it's a Panadol, I feel better.
Yes.
Whereas the nocebo is like I get told this this thing to think.
Mm.
And, you know, even though I hadn't been thinking about it previously, now it's like it's in there and I don't know how to like recognize that it's just a thought. And
Yeah.
so then it festers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It's
becomes some, you know, a physical symptom of some sort, you know, i.e. cancer, whatever it might be. Now, people are probably going to, you know, be skeptical about that, and that's okay. Like, this is just how I'm seeing the world.
Yeah.
Like, and you know, there's probably people that have done gazillions of years of research that see it completely differently, and that's cool. Like, but I sit here like cancer free. You know, a good example is like, you know, every other male in my family has lost their hair, and yet I sit here at, you know, 36 years old and I haven't lost a single strand yet, you know.
Yeah.
Why is that? What's going on there? Like, I you know, curious me is constantly going, well, what's going on there? It's not to say that I know all the answers. It's just like, okay, maybe this kind of different way that I'm looking at things, there's something to it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And even when you were sharing that story, I was just like, I remember I would have been in about year 4 and I had my school uniform on and I was all rugged up and I must have forgot my lunch and mum brought it in and I was fine. And she goes, "Aren't you hot?" And all of a sudden I just went, "Ooh," totally boiling hot. And well, I wasn't. And, you know, but it just as simple as that, sometimes those things can just sort of like, it shows how powerful one little thing can be.
1000%. Have you seen the videos of like the you know, a baby falling over or whatever, and the parents then give 2 different reactions. One of them like goes, "Oh my God, are you okay? Oh my God!" Like,
Yeah.
and the baby goes, "Wah!" and like cries out, hysterical, like in so much pain. "Oh my God, take him to the hospital!" Like, and the other parent just goes, "You're all right. Up you get. Let's, you know." And the baby just goes, "Oh," and just gets up and keeps on walking. You know, like. It's just the mind is, I think what we're maybe discovering right now is that the mind is kind of like the crux of it all. Like, it's all created. It all starts there with that thought.
Yeah, it really does. And that's why I'm so passionate about the work that I do as well. It's just like reprogramming that, but also having the knowing and understanding to give yourself love, like you were saying as well too. When those thoughts come in, just say thank you, thanks for being there, and notice. And when you're reprogramming yourself, you're shifting out of maybe where you've been to create more of what you want. So you're just consciously and on purpose doing it, and doing those sort of things. So to say, I love that, you know, that you brought that up, to say thank you, because there's nothing wrong with those thoughts coming in. It's again accepting that it's there, but just not staying there, choosing to go, okay, thanks for being there, but this is how I think now. I'm going to do this. And comes down to, again, that power of choice, doesn't it?
Yeah, accepting the yin and yang. Like, you know, there's both are there. Both are true. You know, but like, which one am I going to kind of lean towards today?
Yeah, it's like that wolf one, that the Cherokee wolf one. Which wolf will you feed? I forget what. Yeah, like it's like fear or yeah, I can't remember it now, and someone will know. Oh, and I've shared about it before too.
I think that the kind of the other spectrum would be on that, the other, you know, end of that spectrum would probably be love, wouldn't it? Like fear, love.
Yeah, fear, love. Yeah, and it's just which wolf will you feed? And ultimately, you know, it comes down to choice. And then maybe the question is, do you even need to feed the wolf? I mean, I don't know. Who knows? That's the beauty of it. Like, there's so many layers and potentials, isn't there?
100%, yeah. And like, and just, I think, you know, once again, word that's been, you know, common in this conversation is acceptance, right? It's just like accepting that, like, you know, we're probably never actually going to know the answers. And one phrase that I love is like, even when I'm right, I'm wrong. It's like, that's been my journey. It's like, you know, when the ego starts thinking it's like, yeah, I've got this right, you know, that's usually when the universe, or whatever you want to call it, kind of then goes, you know, like, actually,
yeah,
you know,
put this in your pipe and smoke.
I got some more for you. You know, where it came from. Let's you know, let's make things even more interesting than you thought they were.
Absolutely. Shaun, I've just looked at the time and I realized I don't even know. We've been speaking almost for an hour and a half, maybe more, actually. Hang on. Can you work it out? Oh, anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And that just proves, like, it just feels like we just started the conversation. So we've been in that vortex of just chatting. I absolutely love chin wagging with you. You're an
Yeah,
absolute
likewise, man.
champion. I guess to kind of sort of start to wrap things up, like, what do you want to tell people about? Like, obviously, you're writing at the moment and you're building up that bank of all that awesome music that you're doing just in flow. Is there any tour dates or music or anything coming out that you can share with people, and perhaps also let them know where they can find you as well, too?
Yeah, a little bit happening here and there. Like all my tour dates are always on my website.
Yeah,
I'm not doing. I've really stepped back from it for the last kind of 12 to 18 months, which has been a really actually enjoyable process. Because for 15 years, or well, for 13 or so years there, I play 100 plus shows a year, every year, year after year,
that's a lot.
no
Yeah.
questions asked. Whereas, I've really dialed that back in recent times and kind of let go in a sense.
Mm.
So yeah, I'm kind of getting out there and playing a few more shows now. Nothing like crazy hectic touring at the moment, like just really leaning into that writing phase. But yeah, we'll be releasing new music next year and touring a bit more next year. So they can always just jump on ShaunKirk.com
Yeah.
and find out some more there. And, social media, once again, I'm not as present on that at the moment, whilst I kind of go through my little hermit songwriting phase. But they can follow me on that on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, all of them.
Mhm.
It's just at Shaun Kirk Music.
Yeah, and your music's on Spotify as well
And
too
music
for
on
people.
Spotify. Yeah, I should
Yeah,
mention that as well.
awesome. Yeah. But I'll link all the links to you to everywhere you can find you beneath. But if for some reason you're listening and you can't write anything down, just to go to Shaun's website, ShaunKirk.com. So what I might do now is say thank you so much to you, Shaun. And while I'm thanking you before I wrap up, is also thank you at home for being here for this epic chinwag of total awesomeness with the one and only Shaun Kirk. I have had so much fun chatting with him, and I hope you have too, and I hope you have too, Shaun,
Oh, mate,
chatting with yourself,
anytime.
with
Feel
me.
free. Anytime.
Nah, it's been great. So as always, like the video, subscribe, leave a comment. Always love hearing from you. So appreciate being here with you. And Shaun, I just want to say thanks again just for being you and sharing your heart and all your love with all of us today. It's been awesome.
Pleasure. Likewise, straight back at you. Thank you for all the amazing work that you do and the incredible energy that you spread throughout the world. I think I tried as much as I could to kind of, emphasize that to you after you got off stage and you're a little bit like, oh, I don't know how that went. I was like, no, you brought the energy.
Mm.
So I think that's, from what we haven't known each other for that long, but from what I've seen being around you, that's your superpower, so to speak, is just bringing that good vibration to the wherever you are at the time.
Ah.
So thank you.
Oh, thanks, Shaun. That's so beautiful. Thank you. It's been, yeah, we haven't known each other long, but now it feels like we've known each other for forever, really. It's
Yeah,
so easy to chat with you, and you're a bloody champion. So thanks again for being on the show, and I'll just look forward to catching up again soon.
absolutely. So do I. Can't wait.